here on LinkedIn Live with me. So thanks for popping by. It's been great to get some fantastic feedback from the last 2 weeks of me sort of exploring the contents of my brain and just putting out various...
Alright, here we are.
Oh, that's me putting LinkedIn on. So sharing the contents of my brain really with you guys and sort of getting some feedback and comments and questions. So it's a totally interactive half an hour, as per the previous couple of weeks, where I sort of ramble on about thoughts and thinkings of various things that are going on in the retail world at the moment, and really get what is sort of happening out there and understand any pieces that you guys are feeling or thinking. So totally open platform. For anyone who joins this recorded, again, feel free to drop any messages or comments into the LinkedIn piece and we can pick up afterwards. And as I've said before, if anyone wants to come on and be part of this sort of conversation, then the opportunity is totally open to anybody who wants to do that. So this week was all about talking about and debate really the future of window displays in the kind of the world of the retail reset. So windows have been a massive part of my sort of visual journey really. I love window displays, and I think the traditional window display has always been part of something that I've always loved really. I think even from the days when I used to get taken up by my mum on a coach every Christmas, and we would drive around London really and see all the amazing, incredible Christmas window displays, and the bus would go all the way around and you would see everything, and you'd see Santa on the coach, but it would be an amazing part of those kind of Christmas festivities. And I think ever since that time really, there's been something so magical about windows that I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know it was a career. I went to university, went to do fashion design because I thought I loved fashion. Didn't love fashion. I think I left university and ended up getting a job in a shop. And I think that's where my sort of thing for windows really came from, is working in shops and finding out how you could inspire people to come into the shop and be part of your brand and sort of obviously ultimately spend money and engage with you. So I had a great time. I was so lucky. I think I joined French Connection. At the time they were doing some incredible, and I think for them windows was a massive part of their brand strategy. It was all about, obviously we all know about FC UK, but it was about disrupting the high street. It was about capturing attention. It was about really strong product, less so about selling product, but I think more about selling the brand. And I really sort of loved that moment that you had a really strong brand image, and that would drive you in store and be really sort of interested to kind of understand the journey and that piece. So windows have always been a massive part of what I do, and then took it from there to various brands, and I think that's kind of got me to the place now where there's a lot of discussions, and obviously windows is still a big part of what we do and what I do here, and what's the future of windows. So it'd be great to kind of get any comments or thoughts from anyone on what they think the future of window displays is. But for me, there's a massive opportunity with windows. I think windows have probably had a bit of a decline, shall we say, for various brands in the last, or less of a focus for sort of a number of brands. I think there's sort of been an acceptance that maybe a couple of mannequins and a graphic would be enough to sort of drive that visual presence. And the problem is obviously they become a huge platform for promotional messages. So where windows used to inspire and engage and disrupt and cause people to stop, and I think the idea was all about stopping people, window shoppers. That was ultimately what it was about, is to get people to walk past the store and be like, wow, look at that, or look at that outfit, or look at that styling, look at those colours, look at that new product. Obviously a lot of that has now been sort of focused on is promotional messages. You know, that sort of real fighting of brands to try and grab your attention for the best discount, the biggest sale. You know, the sale. Like it's that sort of big red. We're all used to it, and I think that's become a real problem for Windows because there's so many messages that go on that it causes that the struggle to see. And I think, yeah, Becky, that's a great point. Like, where has the wow factor gone? Like, where has that real sort of moment that you walk past, you're like, that is incredible. There's still brands that do that. You know, I think we can talk about Louis Vuitton and Hermes, but these are all premium luxury brands that do incredible windows. You know, Selfridge is doing incredible windows, but the high street is awash with what I'd call graphics, mannequins, and it's very flat. And I think there's so much, you know, in terms of the future of Windows that it's. I was thinking about it this morning. Is what is the future of Windows? And really, I think for brands, they should probably look at it as Instagram because, you know, Instagram used to just be a post. It was okay to just put a picture on Instagram. But now Instagram is a story. It's about content. And really content, we all crave content. And there's so much that you can do with the window. And it is about curating content for your consumer. And the days of hundreds of people walking past your windows and footfall is different now. And people are so much more aware, you know, so the days where you would probably have to communicate your whole brand story or trend to a consumer is very different now. Like I talk about my daughter a lot, but she is so aware of what she wants to look like, where she wants to buy it. She knows everything before she even steps out the door. So she's more aware than I was ever when I went to a shop or whenever I did windows. You know, 10 years ago it was a very different way, but it's about harnessing that knowledge and that passion and doing something incredible with it, that when you move into the store window that it captures that attention. And obviously we talk a lot, everyone talks about digital and how you can digitalize the windows. The problem with that is what seems to be the challenge is it goes back to content. I think there's no point putting digital in the window if you're just going to replace a lifestyle image of a model wearing product and put it in the window. So yeah, Liam, I think let's just put this one up, but that's a great point. I think that it's about celebrating those values and statements. So yeah, it kind of goes back to that real understanding that the consumer has for the brand, you know, for their brand or what the brand stands for. There's so much you can do with those materials and fabrics and ultimately a window is a advertisement for your brand. So it's about bringing that to life. So it goes back to kind of French Connection. They were billboards to the store, to the brand, and that stuck with me forever. So, you know, I went to Fred Perry and did exactly the same thing. We never even put product in the window, which is controversial to even think about it now. But there was this thing that we didn't need to put product in the window. People knew what product we sold. People knew what Fred Perry stood for in terms of product. I think we wanted to engage them in a different way. Did they know that we had heritage going back into various different types of music? Did they understand that we had collaborations with different artists? So they were canvases, really the windows were canvases to those moments. So whether it was a Amy Winehouse collaboration and it was all about big paper cutout dolls, to, you know, some things that we did with Terry Hall, which was very different, or giant tennis balls because of our heritage with tennis. So it's about, I think I've always seen windows as a piece of art. I think because I loved art and I love fashion and I love brands, so all those kind of pieces come together. And I think even more so now as we move into 2021, shall we say, that a window has to be a piece of art, something you would go out. It's the same as I talked about last week in terms of pop-up shops and shops in general, but it's about creating that buzz again, about that moment that you go out and celebrate with the brand, with your friends. I saw something incredible that Liam Hopkins put yesterday. He does some incredible work. And there's 50 windows of creativity happening in Manchester over the next few weeks, which is like an art trail. Unfortunately, it's in Manchester, which is a bit of a pain because of their level 3, but I'm going to sneak and have a look. But it's just an opportunity to go on this sort of trail throughout Manchester and explore art by various 50 different artists. So there are windows in shops, there are windows in different businesses, places like libraries. So it's taking space and doing something with it. And and I think it's that piece around is sort of talking about it, but that locality piece. So we talk about how you drive pieces. You know, this is fantastic for Manchester. What an amazing thing to happen at the moment. And it's about using those spaces in a different way. So about making these pieces art pieces in their own right. I turned down the opportunity and I rue it to the day of using Alec Monopoly in a Top Man window. He was unknown at the time and he was going to do something in the window as an incredible piece of art, and it just didn't seem right at the time and it didn't work out. But you know, it would have been incredible in terms of those opportunities that you just use the window as an introduction to a new, you know, Banksy did his one in Croydon. It was amazing, you know, those opportunities to showcase those spaces. If we all think about those spaces, you know, I was so lucky to do Top Man's window on Oxford Circus for 4 years. You know, if you think about how incredible that space is, if you sold that to an advertising company, it was amazing space to just play with. So yes, this is a good point. I think this is a fantastic point, that there's so much noise that the space has to allow people to really understand what it is you're trying to communicate. So and that's why I talk about art in a big ways, that it sort of allows you to give the visual language of your brand or your shop or your product, whatever it is. Really, it's to kind of, it's those bits that I sort of talk about a lot, but excite, engage, create suspense, anticipation, you know, buzz, all of those sort of things. But as we move into sort of the digital world and that sort of fizzy digital crossover, there's so much opportunity, because how does that begin to work in a window space? So we all look at screens and window. Again, I sort of, like I said a bit ago, that windows don't need to just be very flat. They need to come alive, and I think that's the piece that you get in a window, is that you can bring very static elements to life. So there's really excitement for Windows, I think, as we move forward. I'm obsessed with looking at technology, looking at AR, you know, how that works. I posted a thing last week about Vogue Portugal and how that you can bring just the magazine cover to life through your phone. So it moves from a static, flat image of a lady in a swimming pool, and as you scan it, she starts to move. And how incredible is that for Windows, you know, that you can start to have very static, flat imagery within your windows or product or anything that starts to come alive. And again, there's things that, you know, I don't know if anyone's seen ClipDrop, but how incredible is ClipDrop, that you can scan pretty much anything on your phone, and it takes it into your phone as a physical flat object, so it gets cut out. So you can start to scan products in the window and start to wear them. You know, they're not augmented reality ways of bringing them to life on yourself. So we talk about 24/7 shopping, and how do you bring that to life through a window, but there's so much that you can do through that space. And I think it's about forgetting that it's just the space for the shop. Why can't you have a window display in a shop you don't have a shop, if that makes any sense? Why can't you take windows in spaces like they're doing in Manchester and communicate your brand? So incredible spaces, maybe it's an empty shop, maybe it's a shop that you don't, for a retailer, you don't want to operate at the moment, or that's too big for you, or is in a new town, but you could take a window display without taking any risk of doing an entire shop, but still have a physical presence. So the store comes to life through your window. So and it's about playing with that sort of digital and physical. So I think this is a great one because there's a bit there I've just missed Mark's point, but about Ian Curtis' piece in Manchester, and I'll have to have a look at that because I've not seen that. But about bringing the subject and the building to life. So why can't, for example, if we're talking about digital, and I think there's so much you can do with digital, but there's no point, and I always say it, just replacing something with a digital screen. And it's the same with an in-store experience. There's no point just plunking an iPad in the store and saying this is my digital activation. But there's the work that we've all seen on top of I posted it a few weeks ago, and there's been other ones, but the incredible billboard where the spaceship flies through it. And I think that all comes from like people have seen District's waterfall on the top of their not waterfall, District's wave on top of the building in South Korea. And it's the content that's the king. Like you could have the best digital screen, but unless you've got the best content, there's no point doing it. If you're just going to put a static graphic of a model wearing the latest looks, then it's not going to capture that attention. But if you look at how many people have viewed the wave, it's insane. So it's really about content. So why can't you deliver the same way? There's so much focus on content for social and Instagram stories or things like that. Then the content for your windows has to be as considered. I think it's not plonking some mannequins and some product and those kind of things is not a considered brand approach anymore. I think it was those were the sort of ways that you would capture some attention, but everyone's so more educated that it's that snapshot again. You've got 30 seconds, if that, to capture someone's attention. So why not do it in some incredible way? And it doesn't have to be, I think, windows have changed, brands have changed. I used to do 200 store rollout windows, and you'd do the same rollout across all the stores, and you'd tier it, and you'd have better stores. And obviously the shopping habits have changed, the store numbers have changed. But if you look at what Adidas do on Oxford Street, they don't do that in the same store. They don't do what they do in Oxford Street in every store in the UK. So it's about creating that buzz around those stores. So why can't you have some incredible stores that incorporate digital or holograms or fizzy digital, where similar to the wave, I suppose, and another Mark's put the same as the massive amount of the waterfall in the hotel. And I think who is it? Salesforce is building do it as well, where they have an aquarium. So I've looked at why can't you have, for Nike, why can't Nike have loads of swimming trainers, for example, in a window? And the content can change. Those swimming trainers could be tiny little kid shoes that swim around, and then all of a sudden one giant trainer comes in, and it's those mad things that 10 years ago or even 2 years ago you could never think about for a window. It's how do you bring that content to life in a window display. And like you could be Lacoste and have a tennis playing crocodile in each window, and they play tennis between each window. That in real time. Everything can be real time, and even gamify it as well. So, we talk about creating activations that engage. Why can't you gamify the space or participate somewhere? And that's the point of the window. It's about inspiring people to go into the store. So, and it doesn't have to be super tech. We did a wall shop a couple of months ago, and it was about standing out, from being really different to the local high street. It was about creating a piece of art in a window out of wall, and there wasn't anything technical in it, and it wasn't expensive, but people loved it because it created a sort of sense of fun and frivolity and all those things on their high street. So instead of just sort of walking past the same static displays, they'd got this exciting thing happening, and they're sort of clamouring for another one. And I think that sort of platform that windows allow, whether you've got a massive store in Oxford Street or Bond Street or somewhere in London, or you've got a small window in a local high street, and and again, that's the same exactly as Liam says here, like those sort of smaller local stores provide incredible window displays that, as we're not moving into city centres anymore, the local high street stores can provide that same look and feel and that same way to stand out and to really drive that passion. And again, you don't have to be a huge store, but you could have a fantastic window, and people talk about it, people share it. It's that same again about art and creativity, that it's about the buzz, and the more you get it, understand that it's an advert for your brand. So loads of points on here about sustainability. I think sustainability is huge. Sustainability in visual, especially in retail, but window displays have never really focused on sustainability. It's always been very sort of thought through, that you'd get it in window, take it out, and on reflection, there's the considerations have changed massively now to everything that we think about is sustainable in either its application, in its use. There's so much focus on how do you reuse things. So, as fast fashion moves less so into those kind of realms where everything has to change, and obviously at Topman and Topshop we used to change stuff daily to keep up with the speed of the way everything was happening, and everyone clamoured newness, and we were always constantly looking at new art exhibitions or sculptures or all those things. So it was all about trying to be the first to deliver something exciting. Now it's about how you treat the sort of longevity piece. So how do you reuse props, for example? How do you reuse mannequin bases? How do you enhance those things during the season? Digital does that incredibly. Like, you have digital and you can change content and change the window immediately. Things like holograms, all of those things create amazing opportunities, and speed to market. I think the challenge of Windows, probably for the last sort of 3 years, especially as kind of people skills have changed in store as well. I think there's this sort of thought process in retail that dressing a mannequin is easy. Like, I can't dress a mannequin. I'm worst window dresser in the world. There's some and it's about having incredible window dressers and mannequin stylists and those kind of guys and girls that do that incredibly, because there's an art to that. And just positioning mannequins just dressed is not. It's about styling, and it's the same way. Everyone talks about how styling online, it's the same. You have bad flat lays, you have bad styling online, and it's a detriment to your brand. And same as in Windows. So it's about how good all of those bits that come together. But I think it's the way Windows have evolved is that there needs to be so much focus on them again. I think I'm sort of passionate. I'm obviously passionate about everything I do, but passionate that Windows have a huge opportunity and a huge part to play in the retail reset. And I think it's great to see there's a lot of good points in, as Lowe's pinging up on as I sort of talk and ramble on, but that yeah, and I think I know Ian's really passionate about sustainability and all those sort of things. So I think that's that sort of temporary nature has been is a huge part to play in terms of sustainable future for retail. And it is about considering. It's not about just doing something for the sake of it. You know, the sustainable piece is how do we designed some things for All Saints last Christmas, and they were designed to one for Christmas, but then to last throughout the 24 months further on with additional updates. So it was that you have this great idea that it has a relevance to not just that moment but future moments, and it's taking all of that and bringing that to life in one space. So yeah, there's so much that Windows allow you to do. You know, I think if you don't have a window is you don't have that physical brand presence. So but then there's different ways that you can use it. You know, Flannels and W1 Creates have probably one of the most iconic, if you've seen it on Oxford Street, window spaces that's not a window. It's a huge digital art installation, incredible, and it's a platform for showcasing up and coming talent. It's nothing to do with Flannels. It's nothing in terms of the products. But each week or month, I'm not quite sure how the platform works, but they showcase up and coming designers, or they had I can't remember who exactly it was, but they have a photography, a David Bailey photography, or then they would have a digital artist who does stuff on Instagram. So you know, and it's an opportunity that they have in that sort of digital art in the window. So all of those sort of things. So yeah, Ian, I love your point there, because it's something that I know, and John's popped up on this feed, but something that John and I here at Wild have talked about loads, that this sort of COVID communication piece, and how sort of there's that messages, but we looked at ways that you could bring Windows to life in a COVID secure way, but not promoting it. So we had it was all a bit crazy, so shows my contents of my brain a little bit, but we had mushrooms coming out the window that created umbrellas. You queued, it was all supposed to be quite fun and playful, that you had queued within it. You have to see it to understand it. It's difficult to, but what we saw in all of this, in any problem, there's an opportunity to bring it to life, but with a different way of thinking. So why do you have to put, obviously you have to have queuing barriers and all those sort of things, but why does it have to be a queuing barrier like a queuing barrier? Why can't it be made of cactuses? I think we made it off, and all those sort of things. So there's, you know, how do you engage that consumer on a fun and creative level? So yeah, Christopher, can't say it any more better than that. Sort of Windows are to make you stop, stare, be amazed, and then come in and buy. And it's that same thing I think I said last week, that same with a pop-up, you don't have to buy it then. You know, Windows, if you think about, I don't know if anyone, the Wonder Bra advert billboard, probably one of the greatest known billboard adverts of any time, but I think it made people crash their cars and stuff. But how amazing was that? You know, I don't know, increased, you know, it's that opportunity that it's, if you don't have to go into the shop and buy it. You know, you don't have to, nowadays you can see a window and you don't have to go in store. You can go in store and learn more about the product, but it's that massive piece of advertising that you get. So as I sort of started and said about Instagram, if you treat your window like an Instagram post as a brand, and if you think about how much engagement you can get from, it used to just be you'd lay out your dinner and you'd take a picture of your dinner and you'd get so many how many likes, it would all be about that. Now it's the whole preparation for your dinner through the Instagram story. So it's that whole content piece, and that's where Windows, for me, in my sort of in the thought process, is where the future of Windows lies. Is how do you bring the content of everything to do with either the product or the brand or the moment, whatever it is, to life through that one space that you have, or two spaces, or three, whatever it is you've got in terms of a building to use. And really, there's so much future in Windows. It's just about making sure that it's focused in the right way, that Windows are not just thought about as a last afterthought. And it's really sad when you see a new store opening and there's been so much sort of consideration for what happens inside the store, for the customer journey and all those sort of pieces, and then all of these, then what you see at the end of the new store opening is sort of a graphic in the window and some mannequins and the window decal. And that's cost money, that's cost money to do it. There's a production budget and all those, and windows don't have to be expensive. That money can be used in just a more exciting and innovative way. And again, it doesn't have to be in super technical detail in terms of the application. It still could be in nice print or some way of bringing it to life. But it's just sort of thinking about that. Yeah, there's some comments here about about that storytelling. So it's storytelling. It's that experience piece. So I personally think there's a great piece for Windows. We have a lot of conversations about Windows. We still talk about Windows. It's still a big thing that I'm working on at the minute. Christmas windows seem to be a bit different this year, but I think that's just sort of sense of the nature of the sort of time that we're in. But I think next year, as we move into next year, it is that piece. There's going to be so much more around focus on that augmented reality piece. I think I don't know much about the new iPhone, but there's so many things coming in that seem to make it become part of our phone's DNA. I think things like the QR code is starts to become a piece of it. I think the more that your phone can do through physical recognition rather than have to download an app, so anything web-based brings the window to life in ways that you could never anticipate, sort of, and brings that art of the window to life even more. So imagine scanning the window or holding your phone over the window and it all starts to come alive, and you start to become part of that brand story. So that's why I'm excited about Windows. Really goes back to when I was 8, going on the coach and excited to see what the windows were all about. I think there's probably there's brands that have continued it. There's some really clever brands that do some really fun things, and it's about trying to get that engagement, that level of engagement back out on the high street. I think obviously we talk a lot about the retail reset. It's about considering those spaces and really making them work. And some of the best brands sell, they use those spaces to sell to other brands. To the department stores are an incredible option of that, but they use those spaces as mini advertisements. So there's some really interesting ways to bring that to life. And I know I've rambled on today because it's longer than the half an hour I've normally done. So obviously I am I've got like 3 pages of notes like in front of my face, and as usual, I jump all over the place from one page to the other. So, sort of the nature of my brain. But I just wanted to sort of talk about holograms, and I love Portal, and I think there's a huge opportunity for Portal, which I don't know if anyone's ever seen. It's so expensive at the minute, but it kind of shows where I think Windows could be in the next sort of 5 years' time. Is that you can have real time. He calls it. Here we go. I just have to read my notes, but telepresence, which means you can beam anywhere or anything to anywhere, or anyone or anything to anywhere else in real time. So I don't work for Portal. I don't have any gains from them, but I just love the concept that imagine Beyonce. I don't know why I said Beyonce. Probably because she used to do stuff at Topshop. But imagine Beyonce launching a new fragrance or a new product range, and she can appear in every window, physically or virtually, I think, at that time in real time. So she could be in your window globally all at the same time if you've got a global launch of a product. So kit launch, a new product launch, it can happen in real time with holograms. So as they brought Tupac to life, as they brought everyone to life through holograms, that technology starts to become available, that you can have a live launch of, or a band in your window, in every window. BTS, for example, could be in every window globally, and that becomes a part of a buzz about how exciting are those spaces again, the windows. Tiffany could holographically launch their new ring for Valentine's Day. You know, all of those things become a possibility. At the moment, it's so expensive, I think, in terms of its application. But I think that shows some of the thought processes that we should all start to have about what Windows start to allow you to do again. It's a huge opportunity. It's not just a space to put in a sale of vinyl. And I understand commerciality of, but everyone's so savvy about sales. You can communicate a sale through every other source of medium that I don't know how many people walk around the high street and understand there's just a sale on, so I'm just going to go into that shop. But as you can all push technologies and all those sort of things, that you'd be able to get a push notification as you walk past the store and be told there's a sale on anyway. So you don't need to have a huge vinyl in the window, So I think so. As I sort of ramble on about massive tech and AR, I think that piece really important to understand that budget's going to be tied to. So the bit to think about on all of that, it's mad to think that some of the best things I've done or been involved in or worked on with other brands or with people have cost probably half or a third of what anyone even thinks they cost. It's about understanding the materials, it's about understanding textures, all of those things that, reference back the wall window we did. I think the budget was, I don't know, John might come on and ping a note and tell what's the budget, but it was probably the smallest budget we've ever worked on, but it was just so cool to do it because it was really simple and fun, and you could see what it brought to that local high street. It was great. So I think it goes from kind of things like that to sort of incredible activations where I talk about putting an entire fish tank into a department store window of digital. So, but it's having those ideas. It goes back to everything I always talk about, that thinking outside the box, thinking outside the retail box, the white box, the standard retail white box, and going, what can I do with this space, and doing it in a different way. So, this is another ramble for me on a Monday. Hopefully, it kind of gets you passionate as I am excited. If you work in the Windows, if you visual merchandising, whatever we class ourselves as, retail creatives, hopefully, I know probably in the last, 6 months haven't been the best for our industry. Hasn't been the kind of most creative, but there's definitely a reset happening. I think there's a real push towards creating these moments again, and whether it's Windows as we know it, whether they're windows in spaces that we avoid spaces, whether it's about new brands trying new things in Windows, online brands just trying window displays and not having a physical store, and having shoppable windows on the high street or in places that you know, in shopping centres. There's a huge part for shopping centres to play, is they bring, you know, they'll have windows to life. They don't have to have full shops to even start to engage with new brands. So brands could take spaces in shopping centres, for example, without taking a whole shop, as long as the window is either a shoppable window or an AR window, or there's a way to play with those windows. Whatever it is, these allow huge opportunity for new ways of thinking for Windows. So thanks for joining. I know there's been loads of comments today, which has been great. So what I normally do is once I've stopped rambling, as I sort of work through the comments. So if there's anything else that anyone has that wants to sort of put in, any thoughts for next week's topic, hopefully you're enjoying these sort of series and sort of enjoying doing them now. I kind of feel like I got into the swing a bit. So ping me a note or drop a note in the comments as to what that might be. Any other feedback, thoughts, ideas. And again, as I say, if anyone wants to sneak out of the comment section into a physical, or not physical, I don't know what it is, Zoom-esque, an online discussion piece, then feel free to do that. It'd be good to get a fellow person to chat to, so it's just not me talking to myself on the screen. But anyway, in the meantime, if you're on half term, well, not you on half term, but if you're enjoying half term, have a good half term. I'm going to try and sneak off to Manchester with my two girls to see this 50 Windows of Creativity. So yeah, I'll share that once I've done that, because that looks great. And yeah, if not, drop me in the comments any messages, and I shall see you guys next Monday. All right, cheers guys, speak to you later, bye.